Good deal.
Greenville City Council will come to order. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Here.
Norris,
Here.
Rogers,
Here.
Schmidt,
Here.
Whitaker,
Here.
Brown,
Here.
Ely. Here.
Okay, if I get everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Evening, everyone. Before we proceed, I know Mr. Burkett used to always have a moment of silence when we would lose a member of the community. And this past week, we've lost two pillars to our community. Dave Niley, who was a longtime business owner, was big in the car show club and also had was very charitable in the Shrine Hospital Drive Fund. And then also Mary Ann Caldwell, who was a retired school teacher, retired from Greenville, and was very active in the community. And it's the mother-in-law of our Safety Service Director, Ryan Delk. So if we could just bow our heads for a moment of silence. All right, thank you, everyone. Approval of the minutes that were sent. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, they will stand approved as sent. Approval of the current financial report. I'll take a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Schmidt to approve the financial report. Any discussion on that? Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely. Yes.
Okay, approval of the agenda. I think there is one correction from what was mailed out, correct? On the ordinance supplemental number 11, there was a couple things added. Utilities parks and the amount of a credit of $76.50. These funds were appropriated twice in November. And then also CHIP General Administration Neighborhood Stabilization Program in the amount of $63.84. These funds were received in November for the payoff of the mortgage for the property located at 105 Sharp.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Then moved to by Mr. Brown to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion on that? Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely. Yes.
All right, next, moving along, public hearing. Anyone would like to come to the podium and speak, we would ask that you would keep it to a minimum of 5 minutes.
Greetings to the council, to everyone that is here. Many people does not particularly care for me. It's not because of I am a criminal, but it is because of my words and my visions and my dreams. Just kindly like Joseph. But I want to come to you tonight to ask you once again to consider body cams being worn by our officers. It is a key tool in law enforcement around the world and is very much needed in Greenville, Ohio. We are not in the days of old. The cameras will allow detailed documents of crimes, crash scenes, enhance accuracy to accident reports and court testimonies. It will improve community policing and relationships, as well as bring transparency in policing. I had Bishop Roberts in my absence last council meeting to bring this up. We are no longer in 1955. We need to move our city forward and our city government. Every city around us has cameras on their police officers, and yet we are still stuck where it is very important that we have cameras on our officers for everyone's sake, for their sake and for the community. And we ask that you will look into this seriously, there are many grants out there. And I am also reminded that we need to work towards housing. Dr. John Graham, the executive director of Good Samaritan Home, was fault when he came here. And we too have been opposed, but we refuse to go away. We're not packing up and we are not leaving this area. This is our home. We have invested in this community and we continue to invest in this community. This city has been going around for years in circles. And I say that we need to sit down and find a way. If it's important, we'll find a way. If not, we'll find excuses. So I'm asking that we will find a way with funding. There are many grants out there. There are many ways that we can work towards seeing to it that our officers has body cams for their safety and for the safety of our community. I'm not going to go away. I'm going to keep pushing this issue because it is very important. This is not Mulberry nowadays. Years ago, we could live and not even have to lock our doors. And I understand that. But we're in a new time and a new era. And we need to have accuracy and transparency for everything around us. Also, I would like to say that the office of the Bishop and the General Assembly of the Church of God of the Apostolic Faith is dedicated to policies and practices that are fair and constitutional. That is exactly what we stand for, and we will continue to fight for that. So that is why we are also asking that council address the ordinance 22-102 and repeal it immediately. And come together with all of the churches and community, and let's work on a real solution without violating the First, Fourth, the Fifth, Eighth, and 14th Amendment of the right to the homeless and those that are in the community that is trying to work towards fixing the epidemic that is going on. We, the Church of God, condemn all forms of injustice, bigotry, racist, hate, prejudice of any kind, wherever it is found in the world. Moreover, children have the right to food, shelter, clothing, health care, and emotional well-being as adults, and even if they are homeless. These rights are essential, and they are God-given. Some of the language in the ordinance I would ask for the community to look at. It is barbaric in nature, and it is segregation, and it takes our city back to segregation times. We have a plan to end this, and we have called for city council to meet with us on several times, and we have never really been able to meet with people one-on-one. Instead, we are targeted for our biblical doctrine instead of what we want to do. We are living in a Pharaoh system in closing. And today's government wants to use fear tactics and policies to divide our population. And anyone that wants to challenge it, find out the heavy hammer of the government. Today, invoking crisis language like drugs on water, drugs on immigration, war on terror, we want to use those kind of words to divide, to target the poor, the racial, the ethnic, the migrants in our community. But I call for us to come together as a city and as a community in unity and stop the division in our community. I ask that you consider looking at what we are going to do in the days and months ahead, as there is not going to be people dying from drugs overdose as it is getting very cold. We need warning shelters for the people that are out there that are homeless, that has no place to go. Instead of encouraging, motivating, and inspiring citizens to adopt a lifestyle based on the sanctity of life, we continue to divide in this city, promoting false narratives. If you look at the language, it says that encampment is to have anything that protects you from the elements of the wind except for the very clothing that is on you. That is the reason I've called this a very barbaric law or regs. And we must stop the fear, rejection, shame, stigmatization, isolation, hatred, and bitterness that I have seen for months and months and months coming from not only the federal, state, but also our local government. We must stand together and choose.
Lee, that's, we gave you more than enough time, so you've made your point, and you've made your point the last
All right,
time you're here.
God bless you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak on public hearing? I see we have a lot of students back here. How many students do we have? Raise your hand. Where are you all from? Tri Village. My wife's the teacher at Tri Village, so. Anyone else like to speak? All right, moving on to administration reports. Honorable Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. We'll keep it, oh, thanks. Always forget that. I'll keep it short, but I do want to come to say a couple of things particular. It's a wonderful time and place that we live in. A couple of things that have happened lately is kind of revitalized the Veterans Day Parade. It was a great time and a lot of people showed up and we'll continue to make that better. It's one of the things that I help with to try to get it going and keep it going here. So look forward to next year being a lot better than it was. This was a great year. Of course, the horse parade, fantastic. Main Street helped out. Good buildings and all those people, volunteers. It was wonderful. The city lights, fantastic. We certainly thank those people involved in putting those up. But one thing I do want to say about that is that the city is it seems like it's run better than any time I've known of it. And especially since I've been here, it's fantastic. And I appreciate all the cooperation between all the departments. Everything runs great and the city looks good. And the city and the street department has the opportunity to put up all these lights because all the departments work hard to make the city run right. So not taking anything away from the street department, but it all goes together. So yeah, I know everybody is jumped in and said, hey, great job. And it was a great job. It looks fantastic and I appreciate it. But I want to make sure that we appreciate all the departments of the city. So thank you. Well, there's a lot of people here. So it's a great deal and means a lot. Part of that is the downtown shopping. They do a lot in helping people and it's a great place to shop during the holidays, particularly. And shop at home is a big thing for to keep the small businesses afloat. There's plenty of jobs out there in the county and in the city. And for that spread the word, people. Housing is coming. We talk about it constantly. In administration, we have visited several places. We're dealing with some low income places. Maybe that's something we look at, but it's got to be the right spot probably. But I think as time goes along and housing is saturated throughout the Miami Valley, contractors and those people will come back to our area and we'll see housing. It's just it's frustrating and it's tough to wait on it to come. But we'll be here. So I want to share again. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody. It's coming. I know that I'm coming up, but holidays are sometimes frustrating, but they're also wonderful. So be careful out there. It's falling. Everybody be safe. Thank you. I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Safety Service Director Ryan Duncan.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to do a couple introductions. So we have David, if you please stand up. David Sturgill is on our agenda and he is in line to be our next wastewater superintendent. So if you have any questions for David, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer, or he'll be around after or after tonight as the weeks and months to come. We've been talking about setting up some tours and getting council out there and see what they do on a daily basis. And if I could get Curtis to stand up, so this next gentleman here is Curtis Locker. He's currently with the city of Piqua, and he is on our docket tonight to be our new water superintendent for the city of Greenville. We're very pleased to have both of them and appreciating them attending tonight. And we have a long agenda, so I'll answer any questions, but I will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Safe Service Director or Law Director, Mike Greenman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I just want to speak quickly to two ordinances. One also here tonight is Chance Cox, who's the Assistant Law Director. Chance primarily handles all the criminal cases through the municipal court. And it's easy to kind of see the great job that he does there because of not only the volume, but the results that he gets. The harder part to see is his availability that he has for the police department. And so fortunately or unfortunately for Chance, they all have a cell phone number and he gets the calls at 11 o'clock at night first. I only get them second, so it's greatly appreciated. But on tonight, there is a raise for the ordinance for Chance just to keep in line with the rest of the city employees, and that's up to 2.5%. But to be able to do that, I did not, and there is not a wage increase for me for the next 4 years going forward. So. And then we also have in the communications, we'll read through it, but there were two recommendations coming out of the planning and zoning regarding PUD changes. What needs to happen now, and when we get to that stage, is it gets set for public hearing. We do have to send out notices formally to the adjoining property owners. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Law Director. City Auditor, Roxanne Woolman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. First of all, I would like to request a council of the whole. And what I'm looking at this point is January 24th. That I believe is the fourth Tuesday of the month of January. And what were we talking at six or six? I can't remember what we were talking about. John, what time were we?
6 o'clock. And that is the first meeting it'd be the third Tuesday, I think is what we said.
Fourth Tuesday.
Fourth Tuesday,
Tuesday.
So the 24th. Yeah,
correct.
okay, yep. The 24th at 6 o'clock.
And that's for the budget, right? For the
Correct.
appropriations.
Yes. And then hopefully, once we get that passed, we will be able to approve the budget at the first meeting in February. I have one other item. It's very important that all of you try to attend the last meeting of the year. I know it's close to the holidays, but we may very well have a need for some legislation that will have to be passed before the end of the year. We're running low on some funds and some accounts, so and we haven't closed out November yet, so we're still looking at that. But it's very likely that we will need to get some legislation passed. So hopefully you can all make a very strong effort to attend so we have a majority so that we can pass legislation. If not, we may have to have a special meeting before the end of the year. So, and with that, I pass.
Okay, thank you. If there's anyone that can't attend the next meeting, just let me know so we can kind of plan accordingly. All right, thank you. City Auditor, committee reports, there are none, correct? Moving on to a whopping 16 ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 1 for retention and compensation of assistant law director.
An ordinance for retention and compensation of Assistant Director of Law effective January 1st, 2023. This ordinance establishes compensation for the position of Assistant Director of Law effective January 1st, 2023.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Been moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules to give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Healy.
Yes.
An ordinance for retention and compensation of Assistant Director of Law effective January 1st, 2023. An ordinance for retention and compensation of Assistant Director of Law effective January 1st, 2023.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to adopt. Discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
Yes.
All right, moving on to ordinance number 2, establishing the salary to be paid to ward council members.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to ward council members of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. This ordinance adopts annual wages for the position of ward council members for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
We'll suspend the rules and give this ordinance a second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to ward council members of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to ward council members of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
All right, moving on to ordinance number 3. Thank you, Kim. I was freezing. Ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the law director.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the law director of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. This ordinance adopts annual wages for the position of law director for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second, third time.
Been moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the law director of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the law director of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 4, an ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the city auditor.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the auditor of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. This ordinance adopts annual wages for the position of city auditor for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
Move to suspend the rules on this ordinance and give it second, third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the auditor of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the auditor of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 5, we have an ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the mayor.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the mayor of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. This ordinance adopts annual wages for the position of mayor for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
Suspend the rules, second, third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules and give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the mayor of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024. An ordinance establishing the salary to be paid to the mayor of the city of Greenville, Ohio for the term commencing January 1st, 2024.
Motion to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.
Okay, next moving on to number 6, an ordinance establishing personnel within the city of Greenville, and this has an emergency clause.
An ordinance establishing personnel within the city of Greenville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency, amending and replacing the previous ordinance. This ordinance amends and replaces the previous ordinance to establish personnel within the city of Greenville. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
We'll suspend the rules and give this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second and third reading by title only. Excuse me. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
An ordinance establishing personnel within the city of Greenville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency, amending and replacing the previous ordinance. An ordinance establishing personnel within the city of Greenville, Ohio, and declaring an emergency, amending and replacing the previous ordinance.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt emergency clause. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Okay, moving on to number 7. An ordinance establishing salary and wages for various employees not covered by wage agreements, and this does have an emergency clause.
An ordinance establishing salaries and wages for the various employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency. This ordinance establishes wages and salaries for temporary seasonal employees. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Been moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
An ordinance establishing salaries, wages for various employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency. An ordinance establishing salaries and wages for the various employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt emergency clause. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Okay, number 8, an ordinance establishing salaries, wages for transit employees not covered by wage agreements, and this has an emergency clause also.
An ordinance establishing salaries and wages for the public transportation employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency. This ordinance establishes wages and salaries for the public transportation employees. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
An ordinance establishing salaries and wages for the public transportation employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency. An ordinance establishing salaries and wages for the public transportation employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency.
Emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt emergency clause. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt. Discussion? Call the roll?
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Okay, halfway. Number 9, ordinance establishing salaries, wages for designated employees not covered by wage agreements, and this has an emergency clause also.
An ordinance establishing wages and salaries for the various employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency. This ordinance establishes wages and salaries for the designated employees of the city of Greenville effective first full pay of 2023. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
yes,
An ordinance establishing wages and salaries for the various employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency. An ordinance establishing wages and salaries for the various employees of the city of Greenville not covered by wage agreements and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
yes,
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance to cut discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
yes,
Okay. Number 10, a ordinance temporary supplemental appropriations for 2023.
An ordinance to make temporary appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, Ohio for 2023 until not later than March 31st, 2023, and the regular appropriations ordinance for the year 2023 is passed. And after the regular annual appropriation ordinance is passed, this ordinance shall be null and void. This ordinance allows for temporary appropriations of the city of Greenville, Ohio for 2023 until not later than March 31st, 2023, and the regular appropriations ordinance for the year 2023 is passed.
Suspend the rules to get this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
yes,
An ordinance to make temporary appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, Ohio for 2023 until not later than March 31st, 2023, and the regular appropriations ordinance for the year 2023 is passed. And after the regular annual appropriation ordinance is passed, this ordinance shall be null and void. An ordinance to make temporary appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, Ohio for 2023 until not later than March 31st, 2023, and the regular appropriation ordinance for the year 2023 is passed. And after the regular annual appropriation ordinance is passed, this ordinance shall be null and void.
Move to adopt.
Adopt the ordinance.
And stereo, by Mr. Brown to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
yes,
All right, moving on to number 11, it's a supplemental ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022. This supplemental ordinance allows for appropriations in the general fund and street maintenance, construction, and repair fund in the sum as follows. Refunds and reimbursement elected auditor and treasurer in the amount of $925. These funds are needed to cover the overpayment of an insurance claim. Downtown Christmas lights, general fund in the amount of $2,000. These funds are needed for downtown Christmas lights and were received through donations from the Grayson, Steyer, and Dana Holdapfel foundations. Light and sign maintenance, traffic control in the amount of $1,400. These funds are needed for an unforeseen repair to the communication wires on the East Third and Broadway traffic light. Utilities park in the amount of negative $7,650. These funds were appropriated twice in November. CHIP General Administration Neighborhood Stabilization Program in the amount of $6,384.20. These funds were received in November for the payoff of a mortgage for the property located at 105 Sharp Lane.
Move to suspend the rules and read this ordinance by second, third time by title only.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to suspend rules, give this supplemental ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
yes,
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Greenville, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Healy.
yes,
Okay, moving on to number 12, a resolution authorizing safety service director to enter into contract with Choice One for water tower improvement project.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a contract with Choice One Engineering for professional services related to the Industrial Park Water Tower and North Water Tower Improvements Project. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with Choice One for rendering of professional services for the Industrial Park Water Tower and North Water Tower Improvements Project.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution second, third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules of this resolution, second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with Choice One Engineering for professional services related to the Industrial Park Water Tower and North Water Tower Improvements Project. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract with Choice One Engineering for professional services related to the Industrial Park Water Tower and North Water Tower Improvements Project.
Move to adopt the ordinance on the resolution.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the resolution. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
All right, moving on to number 13, an ordinance ratifying and approving the pay to be provided to David Sturgill upon his appointment as superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant, and this has an emergency clause.
An ordinance ratifying and approving the starting pay provided to David Sturgill upon his appointment as superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant and declaring an emergency. This ordinance ratifies and approves the starting pay for David Sturgill be implemented immediately upon his appointment as superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant beginning December 7th, 2022. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only.
Been moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
An ordinance ratifying and approving the starting pay provided to David Sturgill upon his appointment as superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant and declaring an emergency. An ordinance ratifying and approving the starting pay be provided to David Sturgill upon his appointment as superintendent of the wastewater treatment plant and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Move to adopt the resolution.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt the resolution or the ordinance. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
All right, moving on to number 14, an ordinance ratifying and approving the pay to be provided to Curtis Locker upon his appointment as superintendent of the water department. And it has an emergency clause also.
An ordinance ratifying and approving the starting pay be provided to Curtis Locker upon his appointment as superintendent of the water distribution plant and declaring an emergency. This ordinance ratifies and approves the starting pay for Curtis Locker be implemented immediately upon his appointment as superintendent of the water distribution plant beginning December 12th, 2022. This ordinance has an emergency clause.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this ordinance second, and third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
An ordinance ratifying and approving the starting pay be provided to Curtis Locker upon his appointment as superintendent of the water distribution plant and declaring an emergency. An ordinance ratifying and approving the starting pay be provided to Curtis Locker upon his appointment as superintendent of the water distribution plant and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt emergency clause. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
Right, moving on to number 15, a resolution authorizing the disposal of no longer needed street department equipment on Gov Deals.
A resolution authorizing the disposition of no longer needed street department equipment on Gov Deals. This resolution authorizes the disposition of no longer needed street department equipment, including a 1993 International trailer, 2001 Cox trailer, various electric shop heaters, various concrete gravel bin blocks, and walk-behind blowers.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading only by title only. Any discussion on that? Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
A resolution authorizing the disposition of no longer needed street department equipment on Gov Deals. A resolution authorizing the disposition of no longer needed street department equipment on Gov Deals.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt resolution. Call discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
And number 16, a resolution authorizing the safety service director to enter into purchase of land to be used for municipal purpose.
A resolution authorizing the safety service director to enter into an agreement to purchase land to be used for municipal purposes. This resolution authorizes the safety service director to enter into an agreement to purchase land from Bonanza Development and Robinson Development to be used for municipal purposes.
We suspend the rules and give this resolution its second and third read by title only.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
yes,
A resolution authorizing the safety service director to enter into an agreement to purchase land to be used for municipal purposes. A resolution authorizing the safety service director to enter into an agreement to purchase land to be used for municipal purposes.
To adopt.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to adopt. Discussion.
Where's this land at?
On Front Street, right in front of the street department.
Any other discussion?
The corner.
yeah.
This is really the only vacant land that's out there joining.
Yeah.
And then it takes from the corner of Ohio and front back to the drive. It's that whole block, basically.
It's the house.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think it's technically 8 lots total. It's 6 lots and the house sits on 2 lots.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes,
All right, that completes our ordinances and resolutions. Moving on to new business, we have none, correct? Old business, none. Communicate or council representing outside committees, council on aging.
just a brief update. I did attend a board meeting in November. I just would urge everybody on it's the issue of aging here in our county and in the state and otherwise. This is an organization that helps people find where they might find additional help as they age. I've been reading their website with interest, so I'm just going to submit this, or you can go on their website and check it out yourself. Thank you.
Mr. Council President. I have a report from the Duck County Visitor Bureau,
Okay.
Meeting last week. And equally as Main Street had voted to basically withdraw from the partnership. The Visitors Bureau equally voted to withdraw as of last meeting, or they voted at the last meeting for the tentative start date at the beginning of the year. So just to know that was the primary update.
Have they hired or who's staying with what?
So they ratified for Greg Billings to be the director of Duck County Visitors Bureau.
So they're looking to or find someone for Main Street then?
Jeff.
Yeah, that's the plan. Exactly when they're gonna start interviewing is up in the air yet, but I'm sure it's going to be very soon.
And then the only other thing on that was the office, what happens to the office downtown, and they're still trying to figure that out. Because currently, I think they hold the 60-40 on it. So whether the city Main Street takes that over or what have you, I'm not sure.
Report back when you get more info.
Will do. Thank you.
Communications.
Do you want me to read these first?
Yeah.
Honorable members of council, at the November 15th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, applicant Oakley Point LP's Frank Fugate request was heard for a zoning amendment of 7.874 acres lot located on Adrian Avenue. Members voted to send an unfavorable recommendation to City Council for the request to rezone the parcel from GB General Business to PUDR Planned Unit Development Residential. In following with the zoning regulations, Article 5, Amendment, Section 5.05, the Planning and Zoning Commission is hereby forwarding the recommendation to rezone the request to City Council. City Council, per zoning text Section 5.06, must now take action. The application as submitted by Oakley Point LP on behalf of the property owner with permission is attached. Minutes from the November 15th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting are also attached. Sincerely, Steve Willman. Honorable members of council, at the November 30th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission special meeting, applicant the Serber family's request was heard for a zoning amendment for 14.195 acres lot located on State Route 121 North. Members voted to send a favorable recommendation to City Council for the request to rezone the parcel from GB General Business to PUD Planned Unit Development. And following with the zoning regulations, Article 5, Amendment, Section 5.05, the Planning and Zoning Commission is hereby forwarding the recommendation to rezone the request to City Council. City Council, per zoning text Section 5.06, must now take action. The application as submitted by the Serber family on behalf of the developer, Frontier Community Services / Greenville Housing Partners LLC, is attached. Minutes from the November 30th, 2022 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting are also attached. Sincerely, Steve Willman. And then we received the monthly reports of October from the Transit Police and Street Department and the monthly reports of November from the Income Tax, Fire, and Police Department. And the CIC minutes from September 28th, 2022.
Need to do anything with the zoning?
Yeah, so with the zoning, we need to set a public hearing. It needs to be at least 30 days out so that notices can be sent out. So as it falls,
Second meeting in January.
second meeting in
The
January.
17th.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Mr. Fugate is here. I don't know if he wanted to speak or not, but being here, wanted to make sure you were recognized.
And which development is that?
And so that was the first planning and zoning recommendation.
The favorable or
Unfavorable.
unfavorable? Okay. Okay, that's all we need to do. Set that. Okay. Moving on, call council.
Godwin,
I'd just like to welcome everybody for coming tonight and David Sturgill, welcome, and Curtis Locker, welcome. And the Christmas lights downtown look very nice and that'll pass.
Norris,
Yeah, Mr. Sturgill, Mr. Locker, welcome aboard. Appreciate having you here. To the students at Tri-Village, normally it's not this long, so a few extras in there tonight, but that's part of the governmental learning process for you kids. And thanks for coming. We appreciate you here and your interest. And with that, I'll pass.
Rogers,
Yes, I'd like to welcome our two new persons on board and hope that everything gets well for you and so expected. So with that, I pass.
Schmidt,
David and Curtis, thank you for attending tonight. Welcome aboard. Looking forward to working with you. And Ryan, our family extend our condolences to you. I've known the Caldwell family a long time. It will sure be missed. Yes. And with that, I will pass.
Whitaker,
Yeah, I want to extend my sympathies to the Doug family and the Caldwell families. First of all, and appreciate having that moment of silence that quite a loss for the community and for Ryan's family. I know we want to welcome Curtis and David, welcome to your new positions. Appreciate it. And to the students that came, hope you learned something. Went remarkable quickly, I thought. It's not even an hour yet, so it's not that long, you guys. It's shorter than the class.
That's true.
And want to wish you guys a happy holiday season. Be safe out there. A happy shopping. No fights. We've got that pass.
Brown,
Just a welcome to David and Curtis. Thanks for being here. Welcome aboard. Ryan, again, extending condolences. I did not have her, but I did have Mr. Caldwell many years ago. So, and on behalf of Clarence, Jessica, great job at getting those read fast. Yeah, welcome to the students. Certainly, it's a little longer than normal, but hopefully, it was a good experience for you guys. Yeah, that'll pass.
Ely,
Okay, I want to say welcome to the students also. Now, I just would like to ask you a question. What class are you here for? Government, okay. So, any future or prospective council members in your area? Explore the possibility, okay. Just putting you on the spot there, but welcome. We're glad to have you here. I also want to welcome our two new guys to the cruise here in the city of Greenville. It's a great place to live, great place to work, and it's just a great place. So we thank you. And also, Ryan, I extend my condolences to your families. Tough call, tough times. So, and with that, I will pass.
President Baumgartner.
Yep, so the mayor kind of started off, talking about our department heads and how well ran the city is, and I say it all the time, and with that, David and Curtis, welcome to the family. When I say family, because Ryan and the mayor and all of us will treat you like family, so I know David, you've been around wastewater for a while, so glad to have you come up through the ranks, and glad when Ryan said you were considering it, I was pumped. So I thought that was a good move. Curtis, welcome to Greenville. Now we gotta get you to move here and to the students here. So I'll report back to my wife to tell them that you all behaved, and she'll let Mr. Sagerster know in the morning. So. The other department heads here, thanks for attending. It's one of those things. It's nice to have a department head here at a meeting occasionally, if there's a question to be asked or et cetera. So, Matt, you're always here. Chief, you're always here. Thank you. And usually Roberts is here. You must be out fighting crime tonight. But again, the mayor also touched on lights downtown. Looks awesome. I've had tons of comments on the lights. So just a great job to, I don't know how many times I've seen Rob up in the bucket truck or stringing lights or something. So pass that on. Good job, street department. And with that, I will pass and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adjourn. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ely.
Yes.